What's up, Infected, and welcome to the Kwarenteen. Today I'll be taking a look at a game by the name of Critters Below. Now, if you like what you see in this Kickstarter video, I'll provide a link up in the corner and down in the description that'll take you straight to the Kickstarter page when it's available. It'll provide way more information than I could possibly cover in this video. Also, everything you see in this video is a Kickstarter prototype, so it is of course subject to change. So, what is Critters Below? Thematically, the players take control of like humanoid animals, and they're in a fallout shelter because there is a war going on above ground where planes are coming by dropping bombs and gassing places and stuff like that. So the players have to survive and try not to eat each other until the war is over. But you don't know when the war is over, and there's no power. So a lot of the things you're doing, you're kind of going blind and kind of using information that everybody's given you. And all the while, you're going to slowly starve to death, or you're going to slowly bleed to death, or whatever. So you have to try to make a good judgment call of when's a good idea to step foot out of the bunker and see if the war's over. Because if it's not, you're going to get a blast of radiation straight to the face. But mechanically, the game is kind of like a social deduction, but it's a semi-cooperative social deduction. You can win, all win, you can win, or these group of people can win, or whatever. But that's really the best way I can go to describe the game, so let's just go over to the overview. In Critters Below, the players are going to be dealt one of these random animals, and that's going to be you. So in this case, we're going to be Rocket Raccoon. You're then going to be dealt a random wound, and you're also going to get 2 vigor tokens that hang out in your hand. You're going to adjust the shelf that are the cards that are available based on the number of players. So I've just kind of picked a random amount here. You're then going to take 2 of those cards off the top, and that is going to be your hand. You're allowed to look at your hand at any time throughout this game. So on your turn, the player is going to take 1 to 3 actions. They're required to at least do one thing. Now, what are the options you can do? Well, your options are, you can do your player action, which if you look here, the game is very symbol heavy, and you have in the instruction manual a reference card. So you would gain 2 of whatever card it shows here, and then this targets somebody else, and they would gain whatever shows here. So if I use Rocket Raccoon's ability, I would take 2 hunger tokens, or hunger cards, to my hand, keeping in mind I still have my 2 vigor. Then I would target somebody else to get 2 regeneration cards. And I'll explain these a little bit more in a minute. But that's one action. And then say the other action, maybe I activate one of these 3 rooms. So I can activate this and sleep, gaining 1 food token, but 2 vigor tokens. So let's say I'll do that. I'll gain 2 vigor tokens and a food token. And then the last thing you can do, which I haven't actually set out, you're going to have 4 cards here that are out on the shelf. Now the other action you can do is you can blindly use one of these. So I can select this, even though I have no idea what it is, and just use it. I just rummage around on the shelf, grab something, and just do what it is. So boom, I see it's a gas mask, so I can don this. So I can gain a hunger, and then you can wear it, and then now you have defense against all poison. So this would go face up right here. Funnily enough, I didn't even stack that, and I was going to have to cut this to be able to show wearable items. But then, once your turn is over and you've taken your 1, 2, or 3 actions, your little hand here of cards, you're going to shuffle this up, because keep in mind we have 3 of the hunger tokens, and then we have 4 of the vigor tokens. We'll shuffle these all up, and then you have to go to the next player and they have to draw one of them. Once they draw one of them, in this case, I got a hunger, so it's going to go down in front of me, and then I will lose all of the hunger cards out of my hand. So, what do these cards do? Well, the blue vigor cards do absolutely nothing. They are a pass, so you want to stack your hands with these. These are regeneration, as if you ever draw one of these, of course, if you ever draw anything, you always lose all of that card in your hand. So if you draw this, you're going to be able to get rid of one of your tokens and put it back there. So that's pretty sweet. However, any of these 4 you're going to put face up in front of you. If you ever get 3, not 3 of a kind, but 3 total, then you are dead. Now, after you've done this, the next player is going to take their turn. Note we haven't refilled this because there is a room that allows you to refill this, and it takes one of your actions. So this is going to go around until everybody's taken a turn. Now, once everybody's taken the turn at the end of a round, you're going to decide whether you would like to step outside of the bunker. Now, if you do, you're going to flip over the card that you are on, maybe. You're going to flip it over, and then you're going to flip over all the cards in front of it in the same order. Now, if you notice, these cards can form a big arrow, depending on where. So if you look here, you have +4, +3, +1 in poison. So you're going to, whoever decided to go out would get 2 airdrop items, which is just items off the bottom of the discard pile. And in this case, they would get 3 radiation and 2 radiation because they step foot outside. And you're going to ask, well, why would you ever step foot outside? Well, if at any time you ever have to take less than 1 or 2 of these cards into your hand, then that means the war is over and you and anybody else who left the bunker that round has won. Okay, well, critters below. Well, first and foremost, normally, it's hit or miss with social deduction games. And this isn't so much of a social deduction game because this game can technically be played 100% co-op. So if you're not a big fan of social deduction games, you might still want to stick around and check this one out because it's more strategy game. And sometimes you have to cooperate because maybe I looked at this item and I tell you, you probably need to get this. And so you do have that element of working together, but if you're an asshole, you can just go, screw you guys, and try to win by yourself. So it has that flexibility, so that's pretty cool. And the artwork in the game is pretty minimalistic. A lot of it is missing, but it's a Kickstarter prototype. But the artwork that's there is really cool. It's very, very minimalistic, and it's got a lot of contrasting colors, and I absolutely love the art. However, do not like the symbol heavy, or how symbol heavy the game is. Once you play 4 or 5 games, the symbols aren't that big of a deal, but for a newcomer, they're going to constantly be referring to the instruction manual to figure out what the heck a lot of these symbols do. Some of them are intuitive, but most of them not really so much. I wish they would have there's plenty of room on all the cards, and I understand why they didn't, but I would have liked to have seen text at the bottom just to tell you what the card does. That way, for new players especially, you don't have to keep reaching for the instruction manual. But overall, it's not that big of a deal, but it is something I feel I should point out. Alright, overall, the gameplay, I really enjoyed Critters Below. It's fairly light, it plays reasonably quickly, it's got a pretty small little footprint, and the game can be pretty tense, especially for how light the game is. There winds up being a point a lot of the time of, are they really trying to help me, or are they trying to screw me over so I don't get these items? Or, so it winds up being very simple but kind of tense at the same time. So you do have that little bit of paranoia, but it's not so deep that like a game of the Resistance or anything like that, because you guys could 100% work together. If you know the people you're with don't like games like that, play it with them. Play it 100% cooperatively. You can totally do that. Because at the end, it's kind of an open conversation, or at the end of each round, it's an open conversation. Should we go outside? Do you want to go outside? Maybe us two will go outside. We'll leave you there because you don't want to chance it. But then maybe they'll lose because now it's clear. And so it's a neat little mechanic. I actually really enjoy that. Which brings me to my one major complaint about the game is the game at times feels like it might be too hard. Because once you get 3 of those condition token or cards, I keep calling them tokens, but cards in front of you, you're dead. Game over. So you're frantically trying to find things that gets rid of these wounds, or maybe gets rid of the bad cards out of your hand, and you're trying to sleep a lot so you can stack those vigor tokens or cards, but that's just compounding your starvation problem because those starvation cards stay in your hand, but you got to do something. and you can use each room once, so it winds up just being really, really tense, and you could very easily just die, the third round of the game, and there was nothing you could really have done about it, and that kind of sucks and is kind of lame. However, I'm going to kind of eat my words on that because I didn't think it was possible to win on round 3, but apparently you can. If you're lucky, those event cards that get flipped over, if you decide to go out, if those fall just right, the earliest we've been able to see that you could actually win is the 4th round. If you get a supply drop and then something that maybe gives you like 2 poison and then a supply drop, and then you win. And because you took 2 or less of those condition cards into your hand. So the war is over, round 4. And I was floored by this because we probably played this about a dozen times. And that happened one time and I was floored. But that's really the only gripe with the game is you're at the mercy of those cards. And sometimes you can just get screwed. Overall, yes, I definitely recommend Critters Below. It's a good, fun, tense little game. Once you get over how simple heavy the game is and how brutally unfair the difficulty can be, the game winds up being very fun. And maybe they'll fix those little gripes that I have, but overall, yeah, it's really, really fun. It's pretty light. It doesn't have a big footprint, and it winds up being really tense for such a small little game. And then they come in these little cans, or from what I understand, they're going to be in these little cans that kind of look like Cold War era, like canned beans or something. Just everything about the game is really neat. It's very simplistic. And yeah, I definitely recommend check out their Kickstarter. It's a good, fun little game. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the review. I'll see you guys next time in the Kwarenteen.